Hello everyone, my name is Kevin, and today I'm here to talk about TypeScript. Not only TypeScript, but actually the advanced techniques, like how to actually use TypeScript. I'm not here to show the basics, so if you don't know how to create a variable, what are union types, maybe you shouldn't watch this video yet. I'm not sure if I'll make a video covering the basics, but it's pretty simple to find. And that's why I decided to make a video about the advanced types. About the advanced TypeScript, because TypeScript is a language that many people get to it because they know JavaScript and then they are joining a project that uses TypeScript, so they just learn it as they go, so they learn the basics, how to create types, union types, how to assign types, and in the end that's not enough. If you just know that, you are probably not typing your code well. It's not, and I'm not simply talking about making your code more beautiful, which is also a thing, but I'm talking about actually making your code type safe and preventing people from using your code in the wrong way, because the typing should be good enough for that. Anyways, getting to it, I'm gonna divide this video into two. The first one, the one you're watching right now, will be about some common errors and mistakes you see in TypeScript and some advanced techniques. And the second video will be entirely about generics, which is a topic that I see a lot of people having trouble with. Anyways, let me change the camera here. So the first thing I want to mention is TypeScript docs, because they are way too good. And one of the coolest pages for people that are trying to get a little deeper in TypeScript, I would argue that is the utility types. If you Google utility types TypeScript, you get here. And I'm gonna mention some of them, but I'm not gonna go through all of them because, anyways, the video would be giant, and I'll link that on the description. So some of the cool utility types in TypeScript. One of them is the partial. This is an example here. Let's say we have an interface to do, so a type, which is an object that contains a property called title, being a string, and a description, which is also a string. If, let me see, we have partial to do, then it basically, let me see if there's an example. No, it doesn't show the output here. But what it does is that it makes the properties optional. So if you have a variable of the type partial to do, it might just be an empty object, or just have title, or just have description, or have both. It might have title and description. But if you have a type variable that is of the type to do, it must be an object with title and description. So that's the partial. Here is a partial to do. It doesn't have the title because it's not required. On the other side, we have required, which receives a type that might have some optional properties and makes all of them mandatory. Alright, so that's another one. Another one that I really like. So we can build some of them, like this to do, this read-only, for example. I'm gonna teach how to create some of those types on the next video about generics. But for this one, for example, it makes the properties read-only. So for example, if we have a to do declared as read-only to do, so once you declare it, you can't reassign the properties. Alright, so title cannot be reassigned because it's read-only. Record, which is used to create objects, that one's very cool because right here we have an example. Most objects would generally just have a string here and then, let's say, another string, an object of strings. But check how we can manipulate the keys to follow a specific rule. For example, we have a type cat name, which might be either Nithi, Boris, or Mordred. And if I say that a type that I'm creating is a record cat name, cat info, it means that the key of the object can only be one of these. So the object can only have up to 3 properties. Does it make sense? Yeah. And the values of the properties must be of the type cat_info, which is age and breed. Anyways, I'm not gonna go through many more. Oh, let me just go through a few more of them. Pick, you get a type, let's say to do, and you just pick specific properties of the type, like title and completed. So, for example, to do preview actually is just pick of to do title and completed, so I can create an object, and they must follow the same types of the title and description here. Omit is like the opposite, so you get the entire type, but you omit a property or multiple properties. In this case, the description. Alright, return type, you can get the return type of the function. Yeah, so the parameters, you can get the parameters of the function. That one is really cool. So I really suggest you go through them with awaited. You can get the awaited type, so if it's a function that returns a promise, you can get the return type and the awaited of that return type and get the actual value that the function is supposed to return. It's pretty cool. But anyways, let's go to the code. Firstly, I would like to talk about the difference between a null and any. I know this one is a little basic, but many people don't know, and that's why I decided to bring it here. And it's very important, maybe the most important. So, let me just increase it a little bit. So let's say I create a variable be a, which is any, and let u will be unknown. Make sense? U of unknown, a of any. So what's the difference here? Because the two types basically mean that I don't know what type is the variable. But one of them is very different from the other, because while unknown is basically saying, hey, I don't know what is the type, any is saying, hey, disable TypeScript. I don't want to use TypeScript anymore. I suck at it, you know? And because of that, what I usually suggest is never use any. I never use any in any of my projects, and the first thing that I do when I create them is to set up the ESLint, and one of the rules that I set is to avoid any at all costs. Why is that? First of all, as I said, it disables TypeScript. It doesn't only tells that I don't know the type. I can access of properties of A, even though I don't know the type of A, call a method in the end, and everything's fine. You see there are no complaints on the code. But if I did the same thing with you, just by accessing one property, I would already get this error saying u is of type unknown. Because if I don't know the type of it, how the hell would am I supposed to know that it has all those nested properties? I can't know for sure, you know, unless I add some logic to the code that makes me say, hey, I actually know something about this variable. And we'll get to that. We'll get a little bit to that on this video and a little bit more on the generics video. But I mean, right now, just please agree with me that it makes no sense to use any here, because it allows you to access properties that you don't know exist. Yeah, besides that, let's say I have a variable n, which is a number that receives the value of 3. So I can assign, a to n. How? I mean, how can I be sure that n is still a number? I can't, you know? If I try to assign u, then we get a complaint. Type unknown is not assignable to type number, because I don't know what the hell I'm assigning to n. That's important. You can do, though, the other way around. You can assign n to a unknown, because you don't know what is that anyway, so screw it. But yeah, that's the difference between unknown and any. I hope it's clear. I'm gonna comment this code and I'll share it with you guys, maybe on the description, I don't know yet. But I'll just leave that commented. Alright, now we'll go through the errors, the main errors that I want to talk about, and then we'll come back here for the other examples. The first error I feel like it's important to talk about is the possibly null or undefined. What happens? Oh, it's spoiler. So right here we have getItem, which is a function that might return something, I mean a string or null, and that's not uncommon. Like in this case, for example, the local storage is the memory from the browser. So if there isn't any variables called example, I'll just get a null, and if there are, I'll get a string. But if a is possibly null, then how am I so sure it is not null that I can access string method, which is the two lowercase here? Yeah, I can't know for sure, but there are some ways to dodge that. For example, one of them I'm not suggesting, but is to add an exclamation mark in the end of the expression. That basically says, hey, that's not null, that's not undefined, that is anything else. If you are very sure for some reason the properties are, I mean, that's a way of doing it. But in general, I wouldn't suggest this way because it's not very safe, you know? You're just inferring that you know it's not. While, in my opinion, it's always better to check. So right here, for example, I can, oh, there was a suggestion in there. If I do, for example, if a, then call a to lowercase, that works because TypeScript is smart enough. So it knows that inside this, it could also be, it's different than null. It knows that inside this scope, we already removed the possibility that a is null. So it can only be, in this case, a string. If it was either a number, string, or null, right here, it would show a string or null. That's important, unless I had other conditionals, of course. But yeah, that's the main takeaway here. I'm just gonna show some other ways of achieving that. I could do the opposite here. Like, if it is null, then I am gonna escape the code here somehow. Like, if it was a function, I could just return escape it, you know? So I know it's complaining here because it's not a function, but notice that it's not complaining down here. TypeScript knows that if it got to this part of the code, it's a string. I could also, so we don't have this error here, throw an exception, like throw the error, and yeah, if a is null, we won't get to this part of the code. Alright, so I hope it's clear enough. Let's go to the next error. Incompatible types. So I built this example here, and in this example I have a function. I even have some spoiler here, I'll just leave it here. I have a function that expects an array of person. Oh my god, I have way too many spoilers. Let me just do the following. I'll remove a bunch of stuff here. Yeah. So yeah. If I have this function that expects an array of person, so people, then I am getting just the ugliest error here when I'm passing the variable. And the first tip I want to give you is that this error is a little bit less ugly than it seems, because I know that TypeScript makes it weird, but in my opinion, you shouldn't read from top down. You should read starting from the bottom. So right here, it goes very specific, so specific that you have no context about it. Type number is not assignable to type string. So right now we can only know Alright, so we have a number, we're trying to assign a number to a string. Something's wrong. Then, types of property name are incompatible. So we already know, just by getting here, that one of the names is a number. Makes sense? It's already enough, but if you keep going up, like the object of type name number, age number is not assignable to type person. Oh, so that one is wrong. Let's try to find this one. That's how you debug it. But there are other ways to make it even simpler, so you can actually see the error, the location on your code. For example, right here, I could, first of all, that line here thinks, hey, I need to check if it's an array of person, because it's the type of the function. So if I bring the code here instead of declaring the variable, the check will still be here. And now it will show specifically where the error is. So name is not assignable to type string. That's one of the ways, but it's not the most elegant, because the ideal solution would be to still be able to create a variable outside. So if I don't want to just throw the whole expression here, I can send the check somewhere else. So how do I make people contain the check? I can type the variable people. So person, people is now an array of person. And it's now showing me on the correct part of the code where it's wrong. A third way of doing it would be instead of typing the variable and then assign a value to it, you can also check if the expression, so this part of the code, matches a specific type. And we can do that by using a keyword called satisfies. If people satisfies array of person, we do get the same result here, the same effect. But what's the difference between satisfies and just typing the variable? So the difference is simply that you are not typing the variable in here. So you could use it in other ways to check the expression. For example, let's say you had an array of people, like people 1, and people 1 would have those values here. Sorry, let me just set the brackets. Oh my god, I don't know how to code anymore. Alright, people 1. So right here, I'm just gonna spread people 1, and then I'm gonna check if this specific expression satisfies person, because this one I already know that it does, because I don't know, I type it here. Alright, that's my story. So I'm gonna spread what I already know is an array of person, and then I want to check for this specific expression. You can do that by using the satisfies on the specific line. So that's it. It also works. If I fix it, then we get it fixed here and here. All right. That's the second tip. And let's go commenting that out. Let's go to the last error before going to the advanced techniques. So here I have this following error. First of all, if I don't type error here, it is already unknown, but I'm gonna explicitly leave it as unknown, just so you can see it. Yeah, so this piece of code tries to do something. I throw an exception, then it falls into the catch block. But even though I know that error has a message, I can't access message of error because error is unknown. And if it's unknown, I don't know what type of variable this is, So okay, couldn't you just type it as error? No, it doesn't allow me. A catch clause variable type notation must be any or unknown if specified. And if I don't specify, unknown. And why is that? It's because I can't know for sure what is the type of error. Because right here, yes, I am throwing error, but sometimes I can throw other stuff. I can even, I don't know, just throw this string, And right there, it would be a string. Yeah, that's not beautiful, but sometimes other stuff are thrown, you know. And sometimes the libraries do have some custom error objects, so you should be aware of that. Alright, so how do I know for sure if error has message? There are some different ways. First, I'm gonna give you a JavaScript solution, which is, in my opinion, the best one right here. JavaScript, this is not TypeScript, has a feature called instance of, which I can check if a value is instance of constructor. So if I do if error is instance of error, the object constructor, then then I can log error.message. Then I'm sure it is of the correct type. That wouldn't work if error was an interface, for example, if it wasn't a constructor. If it was just an interface, I could use other stuff to check it. For example, I could check. So first I'm gonna write the code wrong and then I'm gonna adjust it. But I could check if the property message is in error. But there's an issue here that I don't know what the hell is error. So it should be an object if I'm using this operator. So I can check if type of error is object, and if it is, I'm hoping the error is not null. I can just check for the true value. And then if message is in error. So this is another way of checking it, uglier than this one, but you might need to know this one if you're checking for an interface or anything else. And yeah, also worth mentioning that some libs implement errors based on the error object. For example, Axios error is extends error. So since it extends this base constructor, then this if error instance of error would be true if it was an Axios error or just a regular error, since one constructor extends the other. So what you could do here would be something like if let's say I have Axios here, Axios error, error instance of Axios error, then you would do something that only Axios error has, you know, like logging the error.response, for example. But you should definitely return here so you don't fall into the other conditionals. But yeah, that's it. Not gonna spend much more time on that one. Let's go to the more advanced techniques. Actually, I'm gonna divide this video into two. The first one will be more about the errors. The second one will be more about the advanced techniques. This first one was also about the utility types. And I hope you enjoyed the video. I promise to post the next one very soon. I'm gonna record it right now. And please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I'm just getting back after like 2 years without posting. Before I was making content in Portuguese, so it's very important that you interact with this video and help me, you know, improving the algorithm again. Actually improving my ranking on the algorithm. So thank you so much. See you next time.